So, there's a huge new law on the books called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBBBA for short. And wow, our source material shows it's making some really big waves in energy and environmental policy. So, let's just jump right in and break down what's been changed. The source document we're looking at is pretty direct. It gives us a clear picture of what's been taken out of federal law. So, for this explainer, we're going to focus on that one big question. What exactly did this new act cut? Okay, let's get into the details. We're going to start with the first big category of changes, and that's the programs and even whole sections of law that were just explicitly repealed by the OBBBA. We're talking about entire initiatives just taken right off the books. Right out of the gate, the OBBBA got rid of the funding for 5 key programs and sections. And the impact here is, immediate. The legal authority is gone, the money attached to it is gone. So let's see what was on the chopping block. And when you look at the list, the range is pretty wide. It touches everything from a massive environmental fund, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, all the way to a specific grant program aimed at nutrition education. It also went after the rules for royalties on extracted methane and even a mandate for how the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is handled. Let's zoom in on that first one for a second, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. The OBBBA didn't just prevent future funding, it actually clawed back money that was already in the bank but hadn't been spent yet. That's what unobligated balances are. Rescinding them basically just empties the account. That's a pretty big move. And if you want to understand the source's take on this, you just have to look at the words it uses. It describes these changes with a pretty direct phrase, calling it systematically dismantling clean energy funding. I mean, that's a really powerful way to characterize the overall effect, right? All right, so besides repealing whole programs, the OBBBA also targeted the funding mechanisms themselves. The next big target was a whole series of key tax credits, which were essentially terminated. This is a totally different way of doing things. You're not removing the program, you're just putting a hard stop, a firm end date on the financial incentives. And you can see just how many credits were impacted. You've got multiple incentives for clean vehicles. Doesn't matter if they're new, used, or for commercial use. They're all on the list to be ended. The act also puts a stop to major credits for clean electricity from wind and solar and for producing clean hydrogen. So, the big question is, when does all this actually happen? Well, the changes are staggered over a few years. The clean vehicle credits, they're the first to go, terminating in late 2025. Then, a couple of years after that, at the very end of 2027, the clean electricity credits are done. And right after that, the clean hydrogen credit ends at the start of 2028. Okay, so we've looked at the programs that got repealed and the tax credits that got terminated. Let's take a step back and just summarize the overall picture that the source material is painting for us here. So what's the final count? When you add it all up, the 5 repealed programs and sections, plus the 6 major tax credits that were ended, you get a total of 11. 11. That's 11 major areas of funding and incentives, all affected by this one piece of legislation. So yeah, the impact of the OBBB, based on what our source tells us, really cuts across a bunch of different sectors. It's not just about energy or the environment, it even reaches into social programs, remember? Through the repeal of that one SNAP-related grant. The source document we've been using does a great job breaking down what was removed. But it kind of leaves us all with a much bigger question, doesn't it? With these 11 major programs and credits now off the table, what does this new landscape actually mean for the future?